She is unrepresented, Your Honor.
Okay, you're not representing her.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, we called a case of 22-239. Margaret Bruno, is it Lucia?
This is who you're calling right here, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear, I'm representing the, authorized representative for the legal fiction. And I cannot cross the bar if you were.
This video opens by introducing us to a self-described American state national, grandmother in court, who insists she isn't subject to its jurisdiction. She starts with odd semantics about representing herself as an authorized representative of a legal fiction. The judge keeps things professional, but the tension is clear. She claims she can't cross the bar and raises strange legal theories that instantly undermine her case. It's remarkable how these pseudo-legal defenses persist, despite having no foundation. The video quickly highlights the contradiction in her complaining about not hearing the judge at her first appearance while deliberately standing far away. This part perfectly sets up the absurdity and irony at play, illustrating why these sovereign citizen tactics fail so consistently in court. The tone suggests both bemusement and criticism, and you can see the patience it must take for judges to sit through these rehearsed speeches. She claims there was no first appearance in 24 hours, as the law requires. But the judge clarifies she refused to sign jail paperwork, blocking normal procedure. This tactic, blaming the system while refusing to comply, is so typical of these courtroom antics. Watching it unfold, you can't help but feel secondhand embarrassment, as she insists on using conspiratorial buzzwords that only weaken her position. This introduction shows the futility of these movements and previews how deep she dig herself in the coming exchanges.
This time.
All right.
All right, I just want to be clear that when I was here for the arraignment, first off, I never had a first appearance. Within 24 hours, I was incarcerated for 13 days without a first appearance. Bond was set.
And that's true because you wouldn't sign the documents at the jail. Until you sign documents at the jail, you don't.
Where is that written that you have to sign anything? Because I couldn't find it. It just simply says within 24 hours I would go before a judge. I had
you
felony
weren't properly
charges.
booked, so that's the way that was. But I'm not going to argue with that point. But go
Okay,
ahead.
well, I just want to get it on the record that I am here on a special appearance, and I'm just the authorized representative for this birth certificate. It has been federally authenticated, if you want to take a look at it. It has been certified by the state and federally authenticated. I am the owner of this SQQV.
The next section deepens the courtroom spectacle as she formally claims to be there on special appearance, refusing to plead or enter into any contract with the court. She starts talking about her federally authenticated birth certificate and says she's the owner of a bizarre-sounding trust, making the judge ask if she even understands what she's saying. His dry reaction is telling he's heard it all. Before, she tries to introduce a file she prepared, claiming the judge and prosecutor need to review it so the case can be dismissed immediately. The judge flatly tells her that's not going to happen, shutting down her expectations of a quick win. Her packet of so-called legal defenses is filled with highlighted sections she couldn't finish because the clerk wouldn't help. It's painful to watch her believing these half-completed forms will magically void criminal charges. This shows the real tragedy of these pseudo-legal theories. People get so convinced they don't see how badly they're damaging their own chances. Her performance here demonstrates that she's not interested in legal reality, but in reinforcing a script she's memorized from other adherents. The judge remains calm but firm, refusing to indulge these claims while gently pushing the case forward. It's a clear lesson in how these tactics waste the court's time and ultimately do nothing for the defendant but invite consequences, even for viewers who want to sympathize. Her claims sound so disconnected from reality that it's hard not to see the danger of these belief clips.
I stand on the land and soil. I'm under the public law.
Okay.
And I have a right to pass through service.
All right. So I take it you're representing yourself today.
No, I am presenting myself.
Okay. So you're not going to enter a plea today or work out negotiations or anything?
I'm not making any plea whatsoever. I have not consented to contract with this court in any way.
Okay.
I am an American state national. I'm not a sovereign citizen. That was a hate crime under which I was arrested, and the arresting officer has since quit his job with the Jasper Police Department.
All right. Well, State, we can.
I have a file here that I have one prepared for both the prosecutor and for you, Judge, if you'd like to take a look and go along with me on what I'd like to bring before the court. My goal is that this case get dismissed with prejudice before I walk out today.
Well,
She then launches into her long explanation of why she believes her arrest was unlawful, citing her right to travel without restriction and claiming the state turned her God-given right into a privilege. The judge responds with dry sarcasm, asking where in the Bible it says she can drive her car without a license, underlining the absurdity of using religious language to avoid traffic laws. She insists there was no victim in her crime and no one was harmed, ignoring that violations of licensing laws are about public safety. It's a classic sovereign citizen argument. Laws don't apply if there's no clear victim, which isn't how statutes work. She further complains about being denied a first appearance due to hearing difficulties. But the judge notes she refuses to stand at the podium closer to him. This is another contradiction. She doesn't see demanding accommodation while avoiding the spot where she can hear best. The whole exchange demonstrates her unwillingness to meet the system halfway, showing the audience how these beliefs can sabotage a defense. Her repeated insistence on her special status is met with patient but unyielding rejection. By now viewers see the familiar pattern, claiming rights without responsibilities and ignoring basic procedures that protect everyone. The judge's restrained responses highlight the court's responsibility to maintain order despite such extreme legal confusion. It's both comedic and sad that these arguments persist so widely, even though they're so easily defeated in court.
And the areas that were in yellow here, I expected that he would be able to provide the information for me to complete these documents. I am not able to mail them until I can get them completed. He suggested that I talk with, is it John Durham, or who is it, Durant? Am I getting that correct, Tabitha?
that's Mr. Durrett, the state attorney.
Durrett, okay. He suggested I should talk with him as far as getting this information completed. He said he wasn't able to complete the information, otherwise I can hire somebody to get this information for me. So if this case is not going to be submitted, but the first letter in here is a fair notice and warning letter, and it speaks to what the issues are here. First off, it was a false arrest because I do have a right to travel. No, and then also there is no contract.
The grandma's performance escalates as she tries to turn the hearing into a monologue about her rights. She claims she was slammed with 7 felony charges after a search of her vehicle she deems unconstitutional. She offers a detailed narrative about officers assaulting her and taking her phone and keys, which she says amounted to battery. She even suggests it could be compared to a deeply inappropriate act, which is completely unfounded and inflames the courtroom needlessly. This illustrates the emotional volatility behind these movements, where minor law enforcement actions get framed as grand human rights violations. The judge listens but doesn't buy into the dramatics. She also attacks the prosecutors for not acting quickly enough, blaming them for her time in jail, while ignoring her own refusal to cooperate with basic procedures. Her rambling shows no self-awareness, convinced she's the victim of a massive conspiracy. It's a sobering reminder of how these ideologies can distort reality so thoroughly that people sabotage their own legal defense. The viewer can see she's trying to provoke sympathy while alienating the very people who might help her. The judge's calm presence is a needed counterweight to her escalating claims. Watching this unfold in real time is a lesson in how these courtroom theories can fail spectacularly when faced with actual law.
You know, when it started out, I was slammed with 7 felony charges. Had a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights because they did a search and seizure of my vehicle. They tossed my car completely. He claimed he found the phone in my car. He didn't. He took it out of my hand after shoving my arm. That was assault and battery. And then when I got into the police vehicle, my keys were in my pocket. He took them out of my pocket. All right, that again is assault and battery.
She continues with claims about being an international notarial witness for the unincorporated United States of America, saying the documents on her phone were there because of her work. She says the felony charges were baseless and shifted to misdemeanors only after sitting in jail for days without knowing. She describes calls with prosecutors who found the case file while talking to her, painting them as negligent, while she makes it sound like a vast miscarriage of justice. The more she talks, the clearer it becomes that her confusion comes from refusing to cooperate or accept the legal process. She insists she was kidnapped and held in a prisoner of war camp, dramatically reframing jail as something much worse. This emotional manipulation is common in sovereign citizen circles, reframing mundane law enforcement as oppression. She also repeats her Americans with Disabilities Act complaint, saying the judge made no accommodation for her hearing issue. The irony is that she refuses to follow simple instructions like standing at the podium, which would solve that. These contradictions reveal how performative her legal theories are, designed to resist rather than resolve. The commentary underscores that these tactics don't just fail, they actively worsen defendants' legal situations. The judge stays even-keeled, showing how courts often have to deal with such rants patiently.
He allowed me to sit in jail for 8 days with felony charges hanging over my head, which you put a $38,000 bond on me without my participation. Again, that was a violation or deprivation of due process. The felony charges were bogus. I'm an international notarial witness for the United States of America, unincorporated. I had those, driver's license on my phone and birth certificates because I do remote notarization for people. I had a right to have that. I had it by permission of the people that sent it to me. The prosecutor, Dana Brady Giddens, she failed to act for 6 days. On July 1st, Travis transferred it from the felony side over to misdemeanors. She sat on it for 6 days. I sat in jail for 13 days, not even knowing what was going on. And it wasn't until after I got out of jail and I called her, and while I was on the phone, she goes, "Oh, here it is." She asked me what my name was, and she goes, "Oh, here it is," and she opened it while I was on the phone. So Travis sat on it for 7 days. Whatever happened to due process? Don't they have a responsibility to act timely? Because I know I do. I was kidnapped and taken to a prisoner of war camp. I had no choice in this, and I'm an American. I'm an American state citizen. I stand above this court. I stand above this for-profit corporation. First time that I saw you, sir, was 44 days after my arrest. And again, my Americans with Disability Act rights were violated in that you made no accommodation at all for my not being able to hear you. So as far as I know, I never did put in a plea. I have not pled in any way whatsoever. I have not consented. I have signed absolutely nothing. I signed no citations. I have had communication with Tabitha and Dana. We have been writing.
At this stage, she grows even more animated, denying she ever signed anything or entered into any contract with the court. She says she asked for documentation repeatedly, including oaths of office and contracts, and got only no documents responsive in return. She claims the arresting officer didn't sign the citation himself, arguing this proves it's invalid. She insists she's never consented to any of it, believing this alone invalidates the charges. The commentary here is about the persistent misunderstanding of how laws work. You don't need to sign or consent for a criminal charge to exist. Her tactics expose the empty promise of these sovereign teachings, which tell people they can opt out of the system by refusing paperwork. She complains about the public defender using material from anti-sovereign citizen training, calling it hate speech. It shows the paranoid mindset these ideologies encourage, where standard law enforcement training is seen as oppression. By rejecting even the minimal help of a lawyer, she ensures she have no real defense at all. The judge must manage all this while trying to keep the case on track. It's a clear lesson in how these movements isolate defendants from any practical, legal strategy.
So anyway, I didn't sign anything. I have not contracted with this court. I haven't contracted at all. And why? Because I don't need to. I'm not under these statutes, rules, regulations, codes, ordinances, mandates, and all the rest. I tried to explain that to the public defender here that you assigned to talk to me. And then he basically, everything out of his mouth came out right out of this hate crime document called Law Enforcement Guide to Sovereign Citizens. I'm not a Moor. I'm not a Waukesha Nation. I'm an American state citizen. Okay. To call somebody a sovereign citizen is slander. To put it in writing is libel. Sovereign is a king, somebody who is governing, self-governing. Citizen is somebody who works.
She then offers a convoluted lecture about the difference between being a sovereign and a citizen, insisting being labeled a sovereign citizen is slander or libel. She claims she's a private living woman balancing accounts for the public trust, referencing obscure theories about ALCAP's names and government accounts created at birth. It's textbook sovereign citizen mythology about strawman theories and debt systems. She mentions FDR creating a system that stole credits from the people, showing how deep these conspiracies go. The viewer can see how these scripts are recycled online and shared endlessly, persuading people who feel powerless. It's fascinating, but sad to see someone so certain they're revealing hidden truths. When courts dismiss these arguments daily, the commentary here explains that while it sounds complex, it's all legal gibberish designed to feel empowering while guaranteeing failure in court. The judge remains respectful but unmoved, knowing he's hearing ideas that have been debunked. For decades, this part shows how these ideologies prey on vulnerable people who want an explanation for their struggles, only to leave them more confused and in deeper trouble. Clip 7, she insists Governor DeSantis himself has been involved. In her case, claiming she sent him letters that are in her file. She offers to show these to the judge, as though that changes the legal reality of her charges. It's clear she believes letter-writing campaigns and notices give her authority over the court. This is a core tactic of sovereign ID. Enough paperwork, and the system collapses under its own contradictions. She talks about educating the police chief and sheriff with her fee schedule, which lays out what she charged them for violating her rights. This fee schedule approach is widely shared among sovereign citizens and is entirely unenforceable. The irony is striking. She insists on educating officers who have no legal obligation to follow her homemade rules. Watching her confidently describe this system shows how persuasive these beliefs can be to adherents, even while they're absurd to everyone else. The commentary highlights the way these movements encourage fantasy over fact, giving adherents a sense of control in a world they feel has ignored them. It also shows how courts have to navigate these theatrics without indulging them. She then describes meeting repeatedly with the police chief to teach him how to respect her rights. She claims an officer barged into their conversation, got in her face, and yelled at her, bragging about his years of service. She insists he hadn't dealt with anyone like her because she knows her rights. The truth is, these encounters escalate because adherents refuse to follow basic instructions. The commentary emphasizes how these interactions often become confrontational by design, with sovereign citizens testing officers until they react. She describes these events as proof of systemic abuse, but the judge and viewers can see it's just her refusing lawful authority. It's a pattern where sovereign adherents provoke, record, and then claim persecution. Her continued insistence on being special, enlightened, and above the law only proves her disconnect from legal reality. The video exposes the hollow promise of these ideologies. They claim to liberate you, but they only entangle you in pointless conflict. The commentary underscores how courts see this play out over and over with the same tragic results. The judge's patient demeanor highlights the reality that you can't reason someone out of a belief they didn't reason themselves into. Clip 9. She finishes with a rambling monologue about being a child of the king, rejecting the U.S. system in favor of serving God directly. She says she's read the Bible, cover to cover, and claims her rights come from her Creator. While heartfelt, it has nothing to do with traffic law or criminal procedure. The commentary here explains how these religious declarations, while sincere, don't exempt anyone from the rule of law. It's common in sovereign circles to invoke divine authority to supersede earthly laws, but courts don't accept that. The judge remains professional throughout, refusing to be drawn into a theological debate. The viewer can see the personal conviction behind her speech, but also how misplaced it is in this setting. It's tragic that people are convinced to stake their freedom on these flawed interpretations. This ending underscores the core message. These ideologies don't free anyone. They just trap them in conflict with a system that will not and cannot recognize their self-proclaimed exemptions. The video ends as a cautionary tale about the seductive power of these movements and the real-world consequences they carry.